I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. Say it with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Douglas Ducote Show. You had many places you could be tonight. It chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. Folks, we are 1 week away from midterms, the most important election that you will probably ever face in your lifetime because of the destruction and the direction this country is heading to right now, and everything that we've watched happen when Donald Trump was president, and it's now rolling downhill on steroids. It's the most important election in my 60 years on this planet Earth, I assure you that much. You know, the Democrats are saying every day now, several times a day, and every one of them, what's on the ballot. And they're preaching this everywhere they possibly can. And this is what's on the ballot as far as they're concerned. January 6th Capitol breach and Roe versus Wade, where it was kicked back to the states. And Donald Trump and anyone who supported him are MAGA bigots. That is the Democrats' way of winning midterms. Somehow, they've become completely disconnected with the rest of society and what's really happening out there in our world. What's really important to the American people. Before I go into that, yes, the January 6th Capitol breach was a horrible incident that should have never taken place. But that's not affecting everyday people across this country. Roe versus Wade, Supreme Court did not eliminate abortions. They just kicked it back to the states. If you're in a blue state, do whatever you want with your baby. If you're in a red state, well, you got to go to a blue state to make that happen. And as far as Donald Trump is concerned and those that supported him being referred to as racist and bigots, we've had enough of that silliness. Enough. So, on the ballot for the rest of us, here's just a few items that the Democrats seem to just let go right over the top of their freaking heads, and they don't see this as a problem. Number one, our First Amendment rights are being stripped away by the Democrat Party and the liberals. Thankfully, Elon Musk just purchased Twitter, and hopefully he's going to do what he said he's going to do, which is make it a free speech platform again and not bias against Republicans and conservatives. Our Second Amendment rights are being stripped away. This current administration and Democrats up in Congress and liberals would like to take away every gun and basically leave you with the same things that our forefathers had, which is muskets. And definitely they want to take away AR-15s and AK-47s because they're not paying any attention to what happened in Ukraine. Basically, our entire Constitution is being ripped apart right in our face by this current administration, although they say the same thing about us. Defund the police movement and anti-law enforcement bullshit is on the ballot. Crime out of control. Liberal Democrat mayors forcing police to stand down is on the ballot. The treatment of our military and veterans being called and referred to as terrorists by people like Alihan Omar and Rashid Tlaib is on the ballot. Our wide open southern border allowing massive amounts of drugs, fentanyl, sex trafficking of women and children, gang members to flow across willingly, and the demeaning of our Border Patrol agents is on the ballot. Circus clowns in our public libraries and schools for story hour, read between the lines, is on the ballot. Our economy going to hell, which includes mortgage rates, rental and lease rates, gas and diesel prices at the pumps, food and overall grocery prices, 401k's destruction, car prices, and the stock market always in red is on the ballot. The failure to recognize and support angel families and blue and gold star families is on the ballot. Failure to address the epidemic of black on black crime in all major metropolitan cities across America is on the ballot. Yet, Republicans are referred to as racist bigots. Democrats have done nothing to help those in the black communities. Reckless, out of control spending by Democrats in Congress is on the ballot. Billions, and I mean billions, of our taxpayer dollars spent on Russia collusion of Donald Trump over the past 6 years and still continuing this day and this hour is on the ballot. Not a single one of their investigations proved to be true. Democrat and liberals referring to white people as evil racist bigots and trying to shame us for being white. It's on the ballot. And, drum roll please, our Department of Justice and FBI becoming a political arm of the Democrat Party, only going after Republicans and Trump supporters, while allowing Democrats like Hillary Clinton, James Comey, Loretta Lynch, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, James Clapper, and the groups like Antifa and Black Lives Matter to walk is on the ballot. That's what's on the ballot and what's important to real Americans that are struggling to survive in this cesspool made by the current administration and the Democrat Party as a whole. Real Americans that work one job, 2 or 3 jobs, hardworking Americans all across this country expected to hand out freebies to college kids that, oh, we can't afford to pay back our debt, even though everybody else in America did. No, the handout generation. It's on the ballot. But Democrats and their silly little pea brains think that the only thing that matters to the American voter is January 6th and Trump and, oh, Roe versus Wade. I hope they have a surprising wake-up call and that the Democrat Party realizes in 7 days how bad they have screwed you and me, the American patriots of this country. Hell, even calling yourself an American patriot somehow makes you a racist bigot. It's sad. Speaking of racist bigots, the attorney of a major California city Attorney General, says her office will no longer be using Twitter because of the troubling direction the social media platform is moving. San Diego City Attorney Maria W. Ellett shared her concerns today, this morning actually, writing that Twitter is moving in a troubling direction, one that promotes hatred, violence, bullying, and false information. It is not a forum where users can feel respected or safe. We deserve better, Elliott wrote. For that reason, my office will no longer communicate using Twitter. Elliott said her office would be using Instagram for news releases, media interaction, and publicity issues on legal opinions. Musk take over Twitter has stroked fear among Democrats that his stewardship will transfer the company into a far-right platform of misinformation, racism, and cyberbullying. Musk's stated goal in purchasing Twitter was to protect the freedoms of speech, saying in a statement last week that a public square open to diverse opinions is necessary for democracy to thrive. Dear Clueless AG LA, Twitter was already a social media platform in a troubling direction. It promoted hate, violence, bullying, and false information about conservatives, Republicans, President Trump, and anyone who supported President Trump. And where was your concern then? It wasn't any, because you are a hypocrite. So best of luck on Instagram spreading your hate, violence, bullying, and your false information. Yet another pro-MAGA activist has been outed as a Chinese spy, according to the Washington Post. Just as Elon Musk is taking over Twitter, the company uncovered 3 China-based operatives pretending to be influencers in American politics as part of an effort to polarize Americans ahead of the 2022 midterm elections. In a cache of data released by the site, nearly 2,000 users were uncovered as they claimed election rigging and attacking members of the transgender community. But yet, the left claimed it was us, MAGA supporters, doing it. It was Chinese spies. They also promoted pro-China narratives to their American audience. The disclosure by Twitter adds to what is known about China-based efforts to influence American audiences by mimicking the strategies Russia-based operatives used to stoke cultural and political tensions during the 2016 election. Said in a post, in September, Meta announced, which is Facebook, it had disrupted a China-based operative seeking to influence U.S. politics. The U.S. government has also issued warnings about China's influence efforts, as have spatter reporters from cybersecurity firms, including Google, Recorded Future, and Athesa Group. Another network in Iran was uncovered with people claiming to be based in the U.S. or Israel, data showed. An account using the same name and logo was also presented on YouTube, TikTok, and Reddit. This is equal opportunity hyper partnership, a tactic that's been more embraced by Russia, said Graham Brookie, ahead of the Atlantic Council Digital Forensic Research Lab. In the same theory of this case, a weekend anniversary is one that allows you to shape geopolitics more. One network that was removed from Twitter showed 22 users that tweeted more than 250,000 times from this past April to the beginning of October, and generally promoted Donald Trump along with conspiracy theories about the pandemic and vaccines. Althan another recipient of the data, concluded that Chinese-linked accounts on Twitter and elsewhere are pursuing diversities, but plugging right-wing issues more than left, sometimes with nods to conspiracy theories. The report also said the newly announced batch of suspicious promotions in May that former President Barack Obama was a lizard person who was a member of Illuminati. The author went by the name of Ultra Mega Bella Hot Babe. Had 26,000 followers with more than 400,000 likes and 180,000 retweets. The account has since been suspended. She also pushed out memes with false 2020 election conspiracies, like a photo of someone holding a paper bag near a ballot box. She claimed muled taking pics, proof of crime required to get paid by the DNC. In June, that account also tweeted the idea that children with gender dysphoria were being abused by their parents, which, well, I'm not even going to go there tonight. But it's Republicans that did it, right? There was an opinion piece that was published yesterday on Halloween by Senator Steve Daines, who represents Montana in the U.S. Senate. Before being elected to Congress, he worked for 28 years in the private sector. Today, he serves on the U.S. Senate Committee of Appropriations. And I'd like to share this with each of you because it's a very, very good read and red flag of where we're at. You don't have to rent a horror movie this Halloween to feel spooked. Just look at what President Biden and the Democrats have done since they took control of the White House and Congress. Inflation is clocked in at 40-year highs. It can cost Montana families over $100 to fill up their tank. Fentanyl from open southern border is wreaking havoc. Good-paying energy jobs have been nixed. Our small-town communities aren't safe anymore, and cities across the country are grappling with an extraordinary uptick in violent crimes. The current state of affairs is frightening. But this time, the villain isn't Freddy Krueger or Michael Myers. The boogeyman in this movie is President Biden and the Democrats. Since Biden became president, the Democrats took control of both the House and the Senate. Inflation has increased by 13% across the country. Prices have risen over 15.6%. The number alone is enough to send chills down your spine. But what it means for families is far scarier. It eliminates the it's estimated that because of inflation, people will be spending approximately $802 more per month on basic needs. People are forced to tighten their budgets just so that the federal government can spend. And to make matters worse, while the price of gas, groceries, and rent have increased, wages have not kept up, resulting in a real-life pay cut for most Americans. And while practically everyone gets a pay cut, some lose their job completely. Democrats and the Biden administration anti-domestic energy production policies that are killing energy jobs to appease woke green radicals. Canceling the Keystone Pipeline wasn't enough for them. The Democrats' so-called Inflation Reduction Act contains a slew of anti-made in America and made energy, like raising royalty rates for offshore and onshore oil and gas production, and increasing the minimum bid for oil and gas lease fivefold. This financial crisis we're living in shows no sign of getting better anytime soon. If you're asking yourself why the nation is in this economic nightmare, look no further than the early $2 trillion tax and spending law that President Biden and Democrats in Congress passed soon after he took office. Even some liberal economists admit this reckless partisan law set off the crushing inflation that continues to hurt everyday people in America. More recently, the president managed to make things worse with his student loan giveaway. Despite the warning signs of a recession flashing in his face, the president transferred the debt of the elite to middle and lower class Americans who are already struggling to get by under the weight of the inflation crisis. In fact, economists estimate this move alone will cost the average American taxpayer approximately $2,500 a year just to support their little entitled asses that refuse to pay back their debts. Dwindling bank accounts aren't the only things scaring people across this country in this spooky season. Our communities are being stricken with an epidemic of violent crime. Last year, 12 major U.S. cities broke an all-time homicide records. In the last half of this year, violent crime increased by another 4.2% nationally. There are a lot of reasons behind this spike in crime, including the Democrats' radical, dangerous, anti-police agenda. But one of the most significant catalysts is Biden's open southern border. Without a secure border, illegal immigrants and illegal drugs are flowing into our communities, making families less safe. Fentanyl is now the leading cause of death for young Americans. In the first half of this year, almost twice as much fentanyl was taken off the streets than in all of 2021, and 58 times more fentanyl than 2019. Law enforcement officers have been clear. This uptick in dangerous drugs is a direct result of Biden's open southern border. This crisis is happening right in our backyard, and it's horrifying. The scariest part of the spooky season is that there is no end in sight if Biden and the Democrats stay in control. He ends it by saying the good news, there's an election on November 8th that could help put an end to this hair-raising nightmare. That is a very good piece, sir. Thank you for writing that. Speaking of anti-law enforcement issues, a Washington state woman who has a history of anti-police statements and once seemed to be encouraging people to riot has been appointed to fill a director vacancy on a city school board. Couldn't make this shit up if you tried, my friends. Taluna Reed was sworn in during an Olympia school board meeting on Thursday, October 27th, according to the press release. The Olympia School Board unanimously agreed to appoint Reed to fill the District 2 board director seat earlier this month. Since her appointment, a video recorded from July 2021 has circulated online showing Reed addressing a crowd outside of the state capitol. In the video, Reed is seen shouting, "Fuck the police," before encouraging the crowd to say the names of Breonna Taylor and Yvonne McDonald. Taylor was a 26-year-old Black emergency medical worker that was killed by police back in March of 2020. No-knock drug raid on her home. McDonald was Reed's 58-year-old aunt who was found dead by a street sweeper in 2018. Activists, including Reed, maintained that McDonald's death was not investigated properly and that officials are intentionally covering something up. In the July 2021 video, Reed alleges that both Black women were murdered by the fucking police. It amazes me how these pigs can sit over there to watch us peacefully, talking about what we won't change in this state, Reed said. And they don't pay attention until we tear shit up. So before I get started, tear everything up in this fucking city until they do what we want them to do. Reed has an extensive history of political activism. According to OSD, Reed is a lead outreach and advocate navigator at Interfaith Works, where she works with homeless people. She was named WYCA Womex of Achievement, WOMXN, in 2020 as part of the organization's annual Olympia event. She ran for Olympia City Council in 2021, but lost to Lisa Parsley. The school board on which Reed will sit comprises 5 board members voted in under a 4-year term. Reed's predecessor, Justin McCollin, resigned during a board meeting in June. Per the Olympia board, member candidate filling vacancies between elections go through a round of interviews with the school board rather than being voted in. During her swearing in on Thursday, many welcomed her appointment, while others expressed concerns about her past comments. Reed responded that it was everyone's right to show up for public comment, just as it was her right to oppose police brutality. I'm just excited about doing this job and being a part of this, she said. I'm invested in this community. I am part of this community. And I care about the city, especially the children, as you can learn so much from it. OSD told Fox News Digital it received a number of emails and calls, both in support of and in disagreement with the board's unanimous decision on October 13th to appoint her to the Olympia School Board. OSD said Reed was chosen among other candidates based on the content of her answers throughout the interview process, as well as her advocacy and experience working with underserved members of our community. During the interview process, she showed herself to be committed and thoughtful advocate for the students of our school district. We look forward to working with her to address pressing equity and inclusion issues in our school district. We believe she'll be an important voice in partnering moving forward. Reed will serve 1-year term through December of 2023, which gives her 1 year to turn the children of that school district into evil little Nazis that hate America, hate law enforcement, and hate our Constitution. Speaking of people that hate everything Republican, conservative, Donald Trump, and or the Constitution, Fox News has been fueling a culture and climate that led to last week's violent break-in at House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's San Francisco house. California Governor Gavin Newsom said in a CBS interview that aired tonight, they're sowing the seeds, creating a culture and a climate like this, Newsom told CBS News Chief Washington Correspondent Major Garrett, referring to the conservative network. I mean, look online. Look at that sewage that is online that they amplify on these networks and in social media to dehumanize people like Nancy Pelosi and other political leaders. The governor's remarks come after an intruder broke into San Francisco's house of Nancy Pelosi, shared with her husband, Paul, whom the intruder attacked with a hammer, causing a skull fracture and other injuries that require surgery. I've seen the dehumanization of Nancy Pelosi. I don't think anyone's been dehumanized like she has constantly. You know, I've got something special to say when I'm done reading this, right? Oh boy. Newsom said of his fellow California Democrat, I guess his hearing was turned off about the dehumanization of President Trump, conservatives, Republicans, and Trump supporters. He specifically called out Fox News host Jesse Waters, who has done several segments on Paul Pelosi, pleading guilty to a misdemeanor driving under the influence, charged earlier this year. What he's been saying about Paul Pelosi the last 5-6 months, mocking him constantly. Don't tell me that he's not aiding and abetting all of this. Of course it is, Newsom said. Waters downplayed the attack shortly after it happened, suggesting that the suspect, David Wayne DePepe, should be released from custody. What I want is that I want this alleged predator to be treated the exact same way if he had been treated like everybody else that attacks someone gets treated, because they get released by Democrats and liberals back onto the street. That's the point he was trying to make. Because a lot of people get hit with hammers, a lot of people get attacked, and a lot of the times they're out on bail the next day, and it's a simple assault charge. And most of the time, pleaded down to a misdemeanor. All across this country, everywhere there are Democrats running it. So I don't know why this guy is being treated differently. When law enforcement arrived at the Pelosi home during the attack, they found a roll of tape, rope, rubber, and cloth gloves, 2 hammers, and zip ties. DePepe has been charged with 1 count of assault and intimidating family members of a U.S. official and 1 count of attempted kidnapping of a U.S. official. He faces the potential of 50 years in prison. Now let's stop for 1 second. Let's look at this law. Charged with 1 count of assaulting of an immediate family member of a U.S. official and 1 count of attempted kidnapping of a U.S. official. Where are the charges against all the radical left that were defacing the front of homes of our Supreme Court justices? Have any of them been held accountable? It's against the law. It's a federal law that you cannot go to Supreme Court justices' homes and protest. You can protest all you want down the street, but you can't go to their property. Were they charged? No. That's the point Jesse Waters was making. It's a 2-tier justice system in this country, 1 for Democrats and 1 for Republicans. This guy faces a potential 50 years in prison. DePepe has a long history of fringe conspiracy theory views. California Senator Scott Warner, Democrat, said earlier this week, noting he became familiar with him and his pro-nudicism activism while serving on the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. So how did this man get into the Pelosi compound in the first place? Have you seen it? There's pictures of it all over the internet. Hell, you can go to Google Earth and look at it. How did he get past her security officers? She has a security detail. How did he not get picked up on security cameras? Why won't they release the security camera footage? Maybe, possibly, it's because he came in through the front door. I don't know. But the rest of this shit's not adding up, is it? And how did he get in the house? Period. Inquiring minds would love to know the answer to those simple questions. But we're not going to get them. Nope. They're going to sit there and continue to say that he was a Trump supporter. They're spewing that bullshit constantly as I speak right now. This next story should alarm everyone, regardless of your political party, regardless if you're a conservative, regardless if you're a Republican, a liberal, a Democrat, an illegal alien that was welcomed by the Biden administration. It doesn't matter, because this story affects every single living human being in America and everything we do. And I mean everything. The United States is running short of diesel fuel, and the consequences will be grave. Waco economist Ray Perryman says there are only a few weeks left of supply, with the nation's 130 refineries going full blast, and the truck fleets, trains, ships, farmers, military, potential facing big challenges. Much of our logistics system relies on diesel, and if we get to zero inventory, America will come to a screeching halt in about 2 weeks. There's not a good way to deal with a shortage, Perryman said. We've already seen prices rise dramatically, and that will continue as supplies tighten. If things worsen, companies with diesel-powered trucks and trains will start cutting back on routes in response to higher prices, and there will be shipping delays and other problems which we're already seeing across this nation. Farm equipment runs on diesel, and harvest could be delayed. The food supply from harvest to distributors to the grocery store runs on tight timelines, and even a few days of disruption in trucking would be felt enormously. Having recent modeled the efforts of trucking and rail on the supply chain, Perryman said, it's a bad situation, but I don't foresee it reaching a point where a large portion of diesel-powered vehicles stop running. However, given the fact that the supply chain has already been challenged by the pandemic and its aftermath, any problems due to the diesel shortage are magnified. Diesel inventories have been running low for months. In August, for example, the inventory was the lowest it's been since the year 2000. Usually, inventories increase through the summer ahead of the harvest and the winter heating seasons, but that hasn't been the case for the past couple of years. Worse, the U.S. Energy Information Administration is projecting that the shortages will be around at least through next spring of 2023. Perryman said the result is higher prices for fuels and a bump in the cost of almost everything else. There are a variety of reasons for the shortage, he said. One factor is a strong increase in demand that occurred as economists reopened the worst of the pandemic. There have been disruptions such as the Texas freeze back in February 2021. More recently, as many countries decided to stop purchasing petroleum products from Russia, available supplies dropped, and there was a scramble for the available supply. Advanced Power Alliance, Texas Vice President Judd Messer said from Austin that demand for diesel is outpacing supply as the cost to build inventories is rising, and the war in Ukraine has induced market constraints like import bans. The need for an expanding, diverse energy economy is evident, and Texas is well positioned to deliver due to an abundance of renewable energy resources like wind and solar, cleaner burning natural gas, and our highly skilled, homegrown workforce, said Mesa, who is also chief of staff for Republican State Representative Trent Ashby from Lufkin. These assets, coupled with our state track record of developing, innovating energy technologies, enable our state to lead in delivering cleaner, cheaper energy that the world demands. The Advanced Power Alliance promotes the development of renewable sources like wind farms and solar projects. Texas' 32 refineries help produce the 4.2 million barrels per day of diesel fuel that Americans used just this past month of October. The average price for diesel in the U.S. was $3.67 per gallon at this time last year, according to the EIA. but last Wednesday it was 534. Perriman said there's a movement towards cleaner diesel blends, which has long-term benefits but complicated production and rising cost. The observed price discrepancies reflect higher state and local taxes, but that is a relatively minor factor, he said. Stockpiles are dwindling rapidly across the U.S., and some indicate that they only have enough for a couple of more weeks. Refineries are running flat out and have been for some time now. A notable stoppage due to overdue maintenance or other problems could cause further disruptions, and that happens all the time in our chemical plants. The good news is that the additional refinery capability is coming online over time, though it still won't leave much slack. Refineries take years and billions to build if companies can even get permits, and in the current political environment, such investments take on additional risk. In the wake of aggressive Federal Reserve policies, Perriman said high prices and short supplies will be ongoing issues unless economic growth slows markedly in the goods producing sector. And that's not going to happen. You know, we have people in positions in the administration that are supposed to be monitoring shit like this, such as, I don't know, Pete Buttigieg, Transportation Secretary. Hello? Where the hell are you? How did this slip past you? Director of Transportation. There are people in place that monitor this stuff. And sadly, it didn't happen. Just like the rest of this administration. It's on a steroid high to hell. And we are paying the price. So, folks, in 2 weeks, a week after the midterms, if something doesn't magically happen, you won't be able to afford fuel. Trucks won't be able to run. Trains will stop. Planes won't fly. Buses can't run. Fire trucks can't run. The United States military can't run because there'll be no diesel. How in the hell did we get here? Oh, that's simple. It's called incompetent leadership. That's how we got here. Your First Amendment rights are trash to this administration. The government has a formal process with Facebook and Instagram to flag content that they want censored as part of a broader effort to crack down on so-called misinformation. A news report by The Intercept revealed. Well, I think that's why Elon Musk bought Twitter. And now our U.S. government has an inside to Instagram and Facebook to go after what they think is misinformation. Which, by the way, is everything that comes out of my mouth as far as they're concerned. I'm a liar. I'm a skinhead, racist bigot, and I don't know what I'm talking about. Oh my gosh. Individuals with government or law enforcement emails can access a special Facebook portal to request the censorship or suspension of content. The Intercept reported, as of Monday, October 31st, yesterday, the content request system from the Department of Homeland Security and other government agencies to report disinformation was alive and ticking. The Intercept also found that the DHS has plans to expand its censorship efforts, targeting inaccurate information on numerous topics, including how COVID-19 pandemic started, about the COVID-19 vaccines, radical justice, U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan, and the nature of U.S. support of Ukraine. So basically, our government, America's government, the people we put in power, are taking a playbook from Adolf Hitler, Nazi Germany days, of we will censor whatever we believe to be fake news. And only what we believe you need to know will be allowed. And that is the exact reason Elon Musk purchased Twitter, to stop this hate-filled party from continuing to destroy this country. Twitter was, and still is, although it will slowly be eliminating now, thanks to Elon Musk buying it, the biggest bigotry, hateful platform on social media against conservatives, Republicans, Donald Trump, and anyone who supported him. A draft copy of the Department of Homeland Security review showed the department strategy for combating so-called misinformation, which included a special focus on marginalized communities, according to The Intercept. The challenge is particularly acute in marginalizing communities, which are often the target of false and misleading information, such as false information on voting procedures targeting people of color, the report said. I'm on damn near every social media platform you can be on, and I've never seen that before. Maybe it's because they removed it before I got a chance to read it. The government does not clearly explain how disinformation is defined. The Intercept reported, but the Department of Homeland Security justifies its censorship efforts by asserting that terrorist threats are escalating by misinformation and disinformation spread online. Fuck me running. While the scope of the department efforts is unclear, Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Discord, Wikipedia, Microsoft, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Verizon Media and other tech companies met with the FBI and the CISA representatives on a monthly basis prior to the 2020 election. There is a growing evidence that the legislative and executive branch officials are using social media companies to engage in censorship by surrogate, said Jonathan Truly, a professor of law at George Washington University. It's an axiomatic that the government cannot do indirectly what it is prohibited from doing directly. If government officials are directing or facilitating such censorship, it raises serious First Amendment questions, which I believe I started out in the beginning of tonight's show telling you what's on the ballot. But they don't see it. It's going right over their head. Tonight, we're going to start something new at the end of the show that I don't know of anybody else doing. I mean, there could be some other people out there doing it. I just don't know of it. And that is sharing with you the good news of a good person with a gun taking care of a bad person. You never hear about that. All you hear about is guns are bad. Take away guns. And this comes directly from First American Freedom, which is a magazine that I get with my subscription to the NRA, where they want you to be informed of what's really happening out there. In Lincoln County, Mississippi, during early morning hours of Tuesday, July 19th, police received a call about a man threatening people at one residence, but the man had left before officers could arrive. However, as they investigated that incident, they received another call about a man breaking into a home and assaulting two men there. When they arrived at the scene, they found that a neighbor had also been attacked. Again, as they investigated, they received another disturbance call. This time that a man had attempted to hit someone with his car and had been shot by the person in the car, or the person he tried to run over. The man, who was later found to be connected to each of these disturbances, died of his injuries at the hospital. The armed citizen was not charged. And this is from WLBT in Jackson, Mississippi. A 52-year-old man was at home visiting with a friend just before 8 a.m. on August 13th when he discovered a male trespasser on his property in Emerald Township, Ohio, and called police. Before deputies could arrive, the trespasser assaulted the homeowner's friend. The homeowner attempted to stop the assault, telling the unknown man multiple times to stop or he would shoot him. The assailant, however, then directed his attack at the homeowner, who shot him. The investigation was still ongoing, but the sheriff noted that officers believed the 28-year-old trespasser to have been under the influence of illegal drugs. The property owner and his friend were presented with a strange acting, erratical man who eventually became violent by physical assaulting someone, the sheriff noted. I don't want to see people being shot, but I wholeheartedly believe people have the right to protect themselves. And in this case, it appears to be justified self-defense. And that article was in the hometownstation.com out of Lima, Ohio. A mother in Milwaukee, Wisconsin was showering. She's taking a shower. The morning of August 15th, when she heard her children, a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old, start screaming. She raced to her bedroom for her gun and ran dripping wet into the hallway to find a male intruder there. Her two dogs had attacked the man, but he wasn't stopping. She told reporters that she shot him multiple times, killing him. The woman was arrested, but released a few hours later. Though the investigation is still ongoing, neighbors laud her as a hero, with one neighbor noting that she will do what any mother would do to defend her children. And that was in TMJ4 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Why she was arrested to start with, I'd like to know that answer. She's taking a shower. She's got two children in the home. An intruder breaks in, starts attacking her kids, and she defends herself. A man in San Antonio, Texas, was arriving home at his apartment complex in the early morning hours of Friday, August 19th, when he noticed a silver Toyota Prius circling the parking lot. Well, that was the first problem. The guy's in a Prius. If you're a criminal, fucking don't use a Prius. Really? Idiots. Before he was able to get into his apartment, three men allegedly got out of the car. Does a Prius hold three people? I thought it was a little bitty car. Oh, well. Guess they weren't very big people. Got out of the car demanding he hand over his valuables and pointed a gun at the man. The resident drew his own firearm and shot one of the men in the neck, causing the others to flee. The robber would have been shot later The robber who had been shot later died of his injuries. Police were still seeking the other two. The armed citizen was not charged with a crime. And this was FoxSanAntonio.com out of San Antonio, Texas on 8/19/2022. That is just 4 examples. And I will be bringing you examples like that at the end of each show from here on out. Folks, midterms are 1 week from tonight. I cannot express to you how important it is that you go vote and that you get your friends and family to go vote. Do what you have to do to convince them how serious this election is. I strongly believe, at a minimum, a red wave will sweep over the House of Representatives, and we will be back in charge of the House in serious numbers. The Senate, it's a toss-up. I'm hoping for a miracle. And if you get out there and vote and have your family and friends do the same thing, and if you care about the direction of this country, then we can make a difference. If we went back to House only, good. If we went back to House and Senate, we can stop this absolute insanity that the Democrats and liberals are causing across this nation. And that is very, very important. You had many places to be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. Please subscribe to this channel, ring the bell. Also, if you haven't already done so, I've got another YouTube channel up. It's called Charlie Hotel 47. Go check it out. It is just pictures and videos that I have personally taken or were taken of me in combat operations, as well as museums and American history things that I've been blessed to be able to tour here in America and across the globe, that I want to share with you, the American patriots, especially those that don't have the ability to go out and see these things. You hear about them or you see them on certain documentaries, but I want to be able to share with you these things that I've been able and been so blessed to see. In some cases, I don't know how blessed I was when it was combat, but regardless, it's an educational tool, if nothing else, for the younger generations to see that this is a great country. And we are and should be all together and not divided as we are. So check it out, Charlie Hotel 47. Also, go to DouglasDucote.com and check out the website. In the description of this video and this show, when it's over and becomes a regular video up on this YouTube channel, and all my videos, you will see in the description where you can find me on other social media platforms. Please go there, friend request me, or whatever you call it, to follow me on those platforms as well. I put out information all the time on these different platforms that are not part of what I do here on YouTube. Anyhow, it is 9:01. We're a minute past closing time. So thank you all very, very much for joining me tonight. You had many places to be. You chose to be here with me. For that, I am forever grateful. Please, please say a prayer for our men and women serving in the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders and their families, our angel families, our blue and gold star families, and our country. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless each of you. Thank you, patriots. God bless you. And I'll see you very soon, Thursday night, right here for another episode of the Douglas Ducote Show with some very important news about Tuesday's election and what we're going to do for that show. Thank you. God bless you. And I'll see you soon.